for Bridgeport. The first is the library material review and reconsideration policy. And this allows for community members to challenge books and materials that are in our libraries and our school system. And this policy outlines the process by which they do that. And then there are some forms attached to this policy that the district would send to people who challenge books and materials to notify them of the status in the process. So it's a policy that, districts are adopting across the state. And it outlines, just the process for challenging materials. Mr. Sokolovic had a question about school library staff. So we understand that, currently in Bridgeport, the librarians are not in schools right now. Our recommended district workaround for that is to have the director of literacy kind of supervise this process if there are any challenge materials. And the policy on page 2, under the definition of school library staff member, does allow a staff member besides a school librarian to oversee this process, even though there might not be a school librarian. So if you have any questions about this policy, if you'd like to review anything, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, in the review process and the challenge process, when it goes through the process, it's required that everybody reads the book in its entirety.
Yes.
Is it mandated that everybody reads the book in its entirety? Because if somebody challenges War and Peace, we're in trouble.
I think it's more that it gives the review committee a chance to properly review the materials so that the committee could decide if there are objectionable sections of the book, that the committee could focus on that. But they do want people to have a full picture of the scope of the challenge material rather than people who might pick out 1 or 2 sentences or a passage in a book of material, that the committee would read the entire thing to get the full scope of the context of that material rather than focus on that one thing.
Right. Well, yeah, and then that's good. That's a good point. The obverse should be true as well. The person submitting the report should actually be required to read the whole text and provide the context. Because I can see this is something that could be abused. And there's another thing I wanted, a little bit of a language issue that might need to be cleaned up just for our purposes, because it says members should be appointed either member of the local board of education or regional board of education. I think we should strike the words regional just to make sure it's just settled with us, because it's a policy for either boards, either local or regional boards.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep. And that's in 3D on page 2.
Okay. That's okay.
Dan, any questions about the policy? No question. Mr. Traver, any questions on the policy? Look like you said, no, your mic wasn't on.
Yes, make that.
It's like saying.
Yeah, it is. But. Get more minutes.
Ms. Mendez, any questions on the policy?
No, I do not. Thank you though for asking.
Mr. Bullen?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to ask a quick one. With the policy number, does that match with our policy that's going right in the line where we issue go right now?
Yes.
So
So
be sure we don't
yes.
escape that. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
so
you.
it's both a 6,000 policy for instruction and it's also a community relations policy. So it'll be accessible.
Goes in the same.
6,000.
Thank you.
To take a motion to move this to the full board.
I move to refer to the full board for approval, waiving the first and second read for immediate implementation. The library media policy number 61.12, 131.12.3.
I second it. Ayes have it. Any further discussion on it? Further discussion? Going to the next item on the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm in favor too, so.
And can I just make one final comment? As we approve these at the full board meeting, can we make sure that it's put up on the website almost basically immediately, and whatever old policies in this place be removed, so we don't have approval of that. If anything, we've had that problem before last, and everything got lost. That's,
Just what, right here, what's the name?
that's,
So acknowledge Mr. Lamont Daniels is here in person.
Through the chair.
Mhm.
So the second policy in the library series policy is just outlining our process for library collection, development, and maintenance policy of materials. Essentially, again, it's a state mandated policy that just stipulates to the public that we have a procedure for a review of library materials and that we review the library centers and schools that they're using professionally accepted standards for all material, the condition of the material's relevance to students at that time, the availability of duplicates or copies, and then the availability of age-appropriate and grade level material for students. So it's a pretty straightforward policy that just says we're reviewing our library materials.
Mr. Scholar, any questions?
no questions, but if nobody else has any questions, could we, consolidate both these remaining ones? We got one after and have them explain this, so we can make a motion to get both on. Sure.
And then the last policy for library is the display and program policy. Essentially, it states that we have a process of our library displays, that they're educationally appropriate, that they are diverse, that they follow the state anti-discrimination guidelines, and that they're accessible to students of all different, types of backgrounds. And so it's essentially saying that if we put something in the library, it needs to conform to other regulations and laws in the state that allow for freedom of expression and diversity and things like that. So you could do those two policies together if you.
Mr. Medina, or Mr. Daniels?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Medina, any questions?
Yeah, it's the same one. I know it's gonna be a quick yes, but I just wanted a record that matches our policy going into the right order for both of them. That's all.
Mr. Minahan?
No question.
Mr. Traver?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Esther Mary Jimenez?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no more questions.
Yeah.
I'd like to, take a vote to move this to, full board.
Like to make a motion to approve policy 61/13.4 and policy 61/13.5 concerning libraries, display program policy and maintenance to the full board for immediate approval, waiving the first and second reading.
Seems like 1 second. I'll second. Questions or comments? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. To the full board for this. Presentation. Next on the agenda is, 3, presentation on the district's security and safety plan regarding ICE.
The chair.
Yes.
So the first item you have is what is currently on our website. It's not a board policy, but it is the guidelines that the board adopted last year when the state put out guidelines for handling ICE in schools. So although it's not a official board policy, it's still the guidelines that all of our principals at our schools are following. Essentially, it says that if there are any ICE agents that come to schools, they need a warrant, and that we do not collect any information regarding immigration status for our students per FERPA and other privacy laws. So it's just, you can take a look at that, and that's just the guidelines that we're under now. The second document is recently came out with a model policy. If you wanted to consider adopting a specific policy about immigration and protection of undocumented students, so you have that policy to look through if the committee would want to recommend that as an actual policy that the board adopts. But I wanted you to know that we already have immigration guidelines for ICE in our schools that are being followed at every school by our principals. They're well aware of the policy. I mean, we have resources in the district that they can call us at the central office level if they have any questions. And our police department and our school resource officers are also aware and involved in these issues. But if you did want to consider a policy that came from CAVE about protection of undocumented students, you do have that there to look at. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or help you with any discussion.
Yeah, questions, and some of this is talking about identification and stuff like that. Sometimes with the undocumented, they don't, by definition, don't have the documents. I know there's certain documents they can get, the municipal IDs and stuff like that. When these kinds of documents are entered into any kind of database, is there a differentiation made? I mean, first of all, let me ask the question, are they entered into the database? For instance, if I go into a school and I show my driver's license and it'll say driver's license, or if I show a passport, it'll say passport given as identification. Will a municipal ID holder be labeled as a municipal ID holder? I mean, some way that somebody could grab this data and discern an undocumented immigrant versus citizen.
Right. So our enrollment data of students is protected. The enrollment center is required by law to enroll students who are in our district for school. So we can't prevent a student from enrolling in school for any, we have to take them into school. So the documentation that they need to provide, that's all kept private. And our understanding is that, unless the family chooses to disclose that to somebody, then through FERPA, that's all privacy, and we have to secure that information. In terms of the identification that ICE officers or any immigration officer, they would have to provide identification to the school. And upon their entrance or their desire to enter the school.
My personal preference would definitely be to codify something rather than recommendations, because this spells out that people should not be contacting immigration students in some kind of that I really think we definitely need to codify that and get behind it anymore. To stay and protect our immigrant community.
Mr. Daniels, any questions?
Yes, I guess just for clarification for me, can you speak to, are there other districts that actually have a formal policy outside of this? Outside of what we have right here?
So
That you
CAVE put out the model policy. We can check with CAVE to see if any other districts have
Okay.
adopted it. I mean, very often it's, I don't know that a lot of school districts in Connecticut, to be frank, are worried about, there are probably more districts that ICE is more active than other districts. So we could check with other districts to see if they've adopted the CAVE policy, but usually CAVE doesn't, with the policy, tell you which districts have already adopted it. They just put out the model policy for all districts to consider.
Would they have any questions on?
No, just a comment. I just saw, my suggestion is to make sure that we, have time to read all this again and answer that question that Mr. Daniel said, to find out other things. So I would, kind of like, suggest that we don't bypass first, second read when it comes to this, that we take our time with it, because we should get it right the first time, not go back and forth. But I look forward to reading this and sharing information once we gather that. I didn't get into this one too much yet. Thank you. Still been here?
Yes, I have a question. So we have our Kid Protect if I show up. If they come with order from the court, they can come in and get inside the school.
Our current guidelines is that the student would be brought to the front of the school, that ICE would not enter the school, that the administration would take
And
the
then if I
student.
decide to take the student, and from, like you said, from in front of the school, and I decide to take the student away. So we're not protecting our kids.
Well, no, ICE is if they have a warrant from a court, we have to abide by the court warrant. We can't stand in the way of a court issued warrant. So if they went to a judge and the judge swears a warrant, and that warrant says that we have to, turn a student over to ICE, then,
I really, we know the big damage they're doing for their students. I can say a parent, maybe if the parent they come in, they will take it away. But as students, I feel not acceptable. I can tell you for the record, I will go to jail. They will arrest me because I'm not gonna allow to take one of the students of Bridgeport Public School to take that student get, stressed, depressed, and they're gonna remember the rest of their life. And I always say that wherever I go and then I see that, they will arrest me because this is abuse. You see, everybody know in the news how far this situation go. They really killed so many people. You see what happened with the last, little child. So me as a board member and I see something like that, they have to arrest me because I'm not gonna allow that. I don't care what warranty comes from the judge. You can tell me the parent, okay, I understand that. I'll put it aside. But make that damage that student, I'm not agree with that. I'm telling you right now, I'm not agree with that. I know this is policy, stuff like that, but I feel that as a board member in district, we need to protect our students. Thank you for more questions.
Mr. Trevor?
No questions.
Mr. Manners? Manners?
So I wanted to kind of echo what Mr. Sakalovic said. I think this is great that we have this up on our website, but we definitely need to codify it and adapt it as part of our policies, our bylaws, to make sure that we're keeping everyone as safe as possible and we're ensuring that, everyone is following these rules.
Yeah, and just I read the email that Ms. Esther Jimenez had sent me, and I think one of the things that they had pointed out was the roles that people have, like who's gonna be the one to, go get the student, who's gonna, just make sure that everybody has their role and know their role in case of incident like this. Hopefully that's in the policy. All right, one more question.
Yeah, so this is the only, currently, this is the only thing right now. Because I see it here that there's a restriction on staff from asking students their immigration status. Right now, that protection does not exist for our students as far as being codified.
Correct. It's not it's covered under FERPA, but you're correct. It's not under a policy that covers undocumented.
Because I've read in this, and I don't remember where a teacher actually called ICE on the student. That's horrible. I can't remember what district it was. I want to be biased and say Texas or Florida, but I'm not going to. It's probably a 7% chance of one of those two states. But yeah, it's scary that you actually even have to consider something like that. But it's even more scary that it's not in place now, those protections. Now, question about process serving and under this, ICE knocks on the school door. and they gotta contact the superintendent's office. And they're interim and they're waiting out there. What if ICE gets really, really insistent and pushes their way in? Is there a way to, like, legally require all warrants be served through the superintendent's office?
I could ask our legal counsel, I could follow up with a.
Rather than have a bottom up to top down?
I'll check it.
Yeah, that's all I have.
Any more questions on this policy? Mr. Bennett?
Question, if our district will have a staff, they do that. I'm going back with Mr. Tucker said, call ICE. One of those, our students, one of our staff. What was the consequence of the process of that staff doing that?
Hypothetically, I think the district would argue that that's a violation of FERPA, that you violated their, private educational information, and we would go from there. It's hard to, I don't want to give you, too much of a hypothetical, but that would be a serious violation of student privacy laws.
And this document, the show is gonna be, I know it's gonna be a website, but it's gonna be in the schools. So for the parents, they can,
Yeah, so it would be a public, if like Mr. Sokolovic and Ms. Esther Jimenez have said that if you wanted to go through and adopt the policy as a board policy, it would be a public facing document, so the public would be able to see it. And to Mr. Sokolovic's point, it does outline those bullet points on the first page that direct staff, not to disclose any student immigration status to anyone outside of this.
it's gonna be translating in different language, right?
Correct.
But thank you.
Correct. Yeah, our policies are,
Mhm.
I think our website
Our
allows
website,
people to see.
All right, thank you.
Labor?
Yeah, my son sort of want to back up the steps that were raised earlier, which is recent developments would suggest that we need to have a lot more legal discussion with council on this issue as a board. And then once we as a board have developed whatever policy we're going to agree on, we need to have a lot more training, professional development training with staff, because there was over the last, I would think, month, 2 months, Homeland Security / ICE has asserted that it doesn't need a judge's signature. It has administrative warrants. And we need to, none of us are lawyers to a point to understand and to want to get any of our staff involved in trying to determine the difference in whether, when somebody knocks on the door, this is legitimate or illegitimate. But we do want to make sure that our children are protected. And we want to make sure they're protected to the proper, and ultimate degree. So we want to make sure that we have a procedure that immediately gets the proper individual, not just the superintendent, frankly, because no disrespect meant to him or to you, that we want to make sure that we have the proper legal person in place immediately before we let anybody have access to our buildings. And that would be involving the police department and our legal department. So I think that we do not make sure that we just say no, to paraphrase an outdated phrase, until we make sure that our children are protected properly.
Sure. Yeah, I've been jotting down some notes so I can bring those to our legal counsel for review. If any of you have any specific questions, you could send them and then we'll make sure our legal counsel looks at it. I do just want to caution some of the discussion. I don't know that we want to put school staff members in the position of saying no to ICE agents. So I think, you know, if we can find a more centralized way, if we find ICE activity in the district, that maybe that could be more of a central office rule in what you're discussing, and rather not put it on school staff that to handle that. So for now, the policy is that school staff contact the superintendent's office, and we could certainly reach out to legal counsel or the police as soon as something like that happens, to make sure, to your point, that we are getting the proper people there to intervene.
Which is what I'm suggesting, that
Yeah.
because this thing has gotten so outrageously convoluted, that, you know, as I said, in the last month or so, you know, ICE has been arguing that they don't need a judge's signature, they don't need a legal warrant. You know, there were, a few months ago, there was the easy sort of, look, if the warrant doesn't look like this with the judge's signature at the bottom of it, it's not a legitimate warrant, and they were somewhat adhering to that. But now, in the last month or so, there's been this, oh no, we have an administrative warrant and it's fully legitimate, and we're gonna, and so I think that's when we just call the police and ask them to hold up everything until our lawyers are present, and make sure that our lawyers are capable, and you know, and the superintendent to come in and determine that staff are not in a position, anybody, to make that determination, and you're not allowed in the building until we have the proper authorities here to make that determination. We're just not, we're none of us are in that position, administrator, building administrator, or any other staff. I agree, but I just, you know, the point should be that nobody in that building is in a position to let you in the building and have access to our students. And that includes saying whether or not, you know, student X is a student in that building and at present and on that day. That would be a FERPA violation, wouldn't it?
Through the chair. Yeah, I think the difficulty is, like, as you're pointing out, that a lot of this is changing every day. And, you know, so we need to consider what legal authority a warrant has and what information we can disclose for that warrant if they come and produce a warrant. So these are all great questions and things to think about. And we have some time. This isn't a mandated policy, so we do have some time to review this. We don't have to make any decisions tonight. We can come back at a different meeting with some answers to the questions that you asked. But it is important, like you all are saying, to be thoughtful about this and to really get as much information as we can. And unfortunately, something might change 2 days from now after we had, you know, kind of had an answer or response. So it's an evolving situation, and we want to make sure our kids are safe. And I think all of us are in agreement on that.
Thank you.
Well, this Mr. Mayor, is that we need to get codified, making so it's easily accessible and everybody knows the rules. Guess we'll come to bring it up another time.
And
Okay. Oh, Mr. Bennett, go ahead.
Question, this policy, cover or help our security? You know, the security that we have.
Our security guards.
Yeah.
Because
Because that's the first response, you know, anything happened in the school, that the first one, you know, to stop or whatever happened in the school, so.
yeah, I mean, they're considered district personnel, but you're correct. It doesn't specifically mention school resource officers or school guards, but we could look into specifying that if you'd like that in there. You're looking for the process that what role they would play if ICE agents show up. Okay, we could ask about that.
Thank you.
See?
One of our principals, we shared this back in February, this time last year, had concerns because they wanted some procedures and protocols in place, which is why we did this. And they were told not to leave them at the door. Don't let anybody in until they can show a warrant and you contact the superintendent's office. Our principals all have our phone numbers. I hear from them all the time, up to the other two EDs. also hear from them immediately. They even call me when they're in the neighborhood. So we get advance warning that, ICE vehicles have been, over Battaglia have been seen in the neighborhood or Marin as well. So this is a very important topic, that we act on. They have this, but to have it in code. And New Haven has a similar, policy in place.
And through the chair, just to make a point, we haven't had any ICE activity at our schools. No one from ICE has come to a school. Our students are safe, our staff are safe. And we do have these guidelines in place to protect them as of now. I think this discussion is a great discussion, but I wouldn't want anybody to have a takeaway that either we're anticipating ICE, like we're not. Our students are safe. And we have not had any indication that ICE has been looking to come to our schools to interact with students or staff.
So it's still letting them know that we're thinking of them and we're
Correct.
their protection comes first. Mr. Sorry.
Yeah, to that point, I go back to something Mr. Medina said when we started this with a suggestion not to move to a first read and split the baby with not being rush. And I would like to recommend it to the full board for a first read, getting the answers to these questions, and we discuss that and then see what's left to discuss to bring back to committee if necessary this way. Because I've seen policies bounce around for quite a few years, especially things that are fluctuating, and we come back and forth every time. After every answer, we come back and forth. But if we have a step process where we do a first read, these questions are answered and they satisfy, maybe somebody on the full board will have another question and then we can bounce it back. Or maybe all the questions will be satisfied after the first read. And the motion is to bring this to the full board for a first read.
Ms. Carter?
Special meeting, there's no actionable item on this.
Well, so it would have to be referred.
This is just, no, this is just your presentation. You can you're discussing it. You got your recommendations. It will be brought back at another time.
Thank you. Or we can also, it doesn't have to, that's not the only way to refer things to the full board. However, any board member may make a recommendation before the Thursday before the regular meeting if they so choose. So that's another avenue if somebody wants to refer to the full board. It's not a thing that's very present. Or the alternative, the board chair has sole discretion to add an item on the agenda with the rest of the committee. So if we as a committee think it should move forward, is signal as such by lacking a dissent, then we think we should move forward.
Mr. Traver?
No mute, sir.
I think my point got covered. I wanted to ask, if we had had any encounters in the schools and to reassure that we had not, that there had been no ICE activity around our schools. At this point, I had not heard of any and I didn't think we had, and the point was made. So I'm fine. Thank you.
General comments on gardening. Things none. Bill, folks, being recommended by 9130.
9130.
Through the chair. So these are your bylaws. So, I mean, I could be here as a resource to help you, but it's really more of a discussion for you on the committee to see, where you want to go with the bylaws. But these are the key recommended policies, and I believe, the board chair has had discussions with you about, these policies. So we're here as a resource for you, but this is really, for you guys to discuss and see how you feel about these 9,000 seniors. And then if Danielle has any.
We put it up on the screen. I can redline if you guys have any changes or recommendations that you want to possibly, you also have the copies.
So, well, Mrs. Bowman, Mr. Sakala, any, comments on that?
I got. I'm trying to. Listen, let me just start with a motion in a second, so it's not showing. For sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve A committees 9130, 9132, and 9133 with a recommendation that waives the first and second read for immediate implementation.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Just basically a
Motion rather.
motion to waive the first and second read at the full board for immediate implementation, because this seems pretty simple. We could discuss that during any debate, I didn't provide any motion.
I'll second. That's okay.
Okay. Two votes to, move it to the discussion for the full board.
And now we open up for discussions. I have nothing to discuss on these two.
It's that 91,
The
30, 31,
that 91.
32/33.
It's just clear.
You got it?
I'm gonna wait until Terry. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Mr. Medina, any questions, comments?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys noted, but on the 9130, as Danielle was working on,
Oh, you want me to put 9130 back?
yeah, it just says that the members of the committee shall be established by the chairperson at the first regular school scheduled meeting in December. That can't happen because that's when we usually have elections of the chair, and then after that, you know, she has to find out who are the members, that we don't even know. She wouldn't know that. We don't know who the chair is. She can't assign a committee at that same very meeting, so that can't be the case.
Where are you?
The first paragraph, it says the second line, the first
We
thing,
need to
where
report
the
through.
membership of the committee shall be established by the chairperson at the first regular scheduled meeting in December. It's in the first scheduled meeting in December is when we are doing our whole organizational and all that stuff. So he or she can't put committee members into a committee.
Yes.
They can put. Is you got normal protocol, that way everybody wants to know. The normal protocol would be that the chair usually will send out messages to the other members, ask them where they would like to serve and all that stuff. Any recommendation that they would like to serve in any particular committee, and then he or she, the chair will determine.
Do you guys, it's the committee.
Yeah. So what's fine.
But it just can't be the first one.
Right.
You know, you can be at a regular scheduled meeting in December, that'll be, I think, will be suffice.
More in December.
It won't be.
Holidays.
Okay, so that'll move it to January then, and the first scheduled meeting in January, guys?
That makes sense.
Suggestion?
Why is it not, it's not. So,
Blake can make a motion.
Why not just say after the first meeting in December?
that's really,
That's a good one too, but.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
it's not taken.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion. Okay, that's good.
All markup,
Mr. Mayor Jimenez, we got some.
show markup.
Yeah,
It's just not.
Danielle, if you clicked on track changes right above, not the downward arrow, just like around the notebook, it should activate it. There you go.
There it
No,
goes.
there you go.
After. Thank you, Maritza.
Yeah, no problem. So I have an edit on 9132. So I'll pause because this one's being edited. I don't have anything on this one.
Sure.
Yeah, I would make a motion to amend, My motion does not involve after. Motion involves the first regular meeting in January, to put a deadline on it, so we have our committees in place by January at the latest. Because I've seen in my tenure on the board that sometimes we didn't even get meetings until the end of January because the committees were not in place. This will compel whoever the chairman is, sometimes way in the future to make sure those committees are set by the first meeting in January. So everybody can have a committee meeting in January and reschedule it rather than going into February before the first meeting of some committees. That makes sense. So the motion is.
So may I make,
The motion is to let me go, let me read this again. The membership of the committee shall be established by the chairperson no later than the first regularly scheduled meeting in January. It needs to be second and then I'm waiting to write. So,
may may I make a suggestion, Mr. Sakalovic?
There's no later, what he just said.
No, I'm gonna wait and put it back where it was until you guys agree on what it is instead of keep changing.
We got to read it.
Favorite.
I was gonna say, just say after the first meeting in December, before the first meeting in January. Which essentially does what you said.
the same section.
All right, do we have a second for Mr. Calvage's amendment? If not, I'll second it.
What was it again?
What do you?
And no later shall be established by the chairperson no later than the first regularly scheduled meeting in January.
So you want to take the December? First regular scheduled meeting in January.
Are there questions or comments on 30? Can take a vote on the amendment.
That's just us three, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I oppose that.
What do you think?
I'm a favor.
Yeah, I can speak to, I think, I'm just not a fan of having it so prescriptive. That's my point. I get the point from past experiences, but I just don't support that because anything can happen. Doesn't always need to be something bad happens. So I'm just not a fan of that.
Always
I
not.
like you to do this recommendation.
Jennifer, because she did our assignment, she, right after.
Point. Right, did we follow, did it happen before? Did we do it right this time?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Point of
so-
information and point of order that we really need to, not really point of order, really need to consider as we're going forward. Not speaking about Jennifer, we're not speaking about Andre, we're not speaking about Joe Scott, we're not speaking about Albert. We are speaking for boards of education that do not exist right now. This policy will be guided.
But you.
So we need to keep our personal feelings out of policy because this is guidance.
But you read no past experience.
Excuse me, just speaking over me, sir. We should be speaking one at a time. I did not speak over you while you were speaking. But wait for you to finish, so please do not interrupt me while I'm speaking.
Forward.
Thank you. And we are writing these for the future. This hasn't been amended in 10 years, and before that, it hasn't been amended in 2030. So this is going to be a living document. Any policy we pass can be amended if something happens. If, God forbid, there's another pandemic and something happens, I make a motion to suspend bylaw number 9130. And if 2/3 of the people pass it, it's suspended, it's not in effect. That's how something is amended if something happens. I think I should stay in place. Thank you.
More questions or comments on 9130? Now we vote on the amendment, right?
I have a question. Second paragraph, second sentence, does that now need to be changed as well? Because it's referencing December.
That's their annual report,
No.
so at the end, it will be your annual report at the end, so that
Okay.
would make sense.
Okay, thank you.
Thirty. Which, okay, we're voting on your amendment.
Right.
So Daniels, no, additional meetings, and, I vote yes. So we're gonna move that to, we have to move it to.
Right, well, right now, it's just, it's just amended on that part, we did a whole motion for this one, the whole thing, so we can go through the rest of it, any other amendments, and then we would have to make a motion to approve the series as amended, if we were reading it. Motion on the floor, I did correct, the motion I made was to approve all three, waiving the first and second reading, correct?
Yeah.
And so as we amend piece by piece.
Are you only doing 9130 right now, or are you doing?
Right, well, that was right, because I made the motion I made was for the series of this.
Okay.
So we will,
So minutes that I changed.
right, yeah, so we got, right now, we should be moving on to 9131.
Okay.
Well,
Good. Moving on to 9131. Any questions or comments on that policy?
9131 is not on the agenda.
Oh, sure.
It's 9132. Sorry.
Thank you, Mrs. Minutes.
question, Mr. Chair, is this a regularly scheduled meeting?
No, it's a special meeting and it's actually a typo. Committees of the whole is on the agenda. It's just the number is wrong, 9132. So the committees of the whole is on the agenda. There's a typo.
You can press on that, at least.
Okay.
That's page.
Page 19.
Thirty-two. Okay, policy 9132/9133, standing committees. Any questions or comments on that policy?
Right, the same question with me, but she's been waiting.
Mrs. Mayor Jimenez, you got a question, comment?
Yeah, comment. So as part of this, I know that there was conversations before I even came on as a board member that standing committees needed to be clearly identified. And that does not take place in this policy. It's not clearly identified. I also wanted to, we use the terms ad hoc and special interchangeably throughout this document. So one of the changes that I had noted was that in the right there, we're under ad hoc committees, is that we should reference, just to be clear, ad hoc or special committees, just so that it's cohesive and people know that we're referring to both terms as one. So that was my second change. And I'm trying to figure out what I wrote here. Oh, and then in another policy, we're referring to an emergency meeting. I think that one might be okay, but wanted to note that we don't reference emergency meetings here. And I'm not sure if that's okay or not. And that's all for me for this policy.
Okay, any more?
Yeah, I got, and I don't think this one's, looking at it further and fairness in this, I don't think this one's quite ready for prime time, because it doesn't include well, it's actually committees and advisory. Oh, wait, this is not. Right. Okay, never mind. Yeah. My only concern with this is, because we're talking about committees, not meetings. And there's no real special committees. My only issue with this is number 5. Any time at the end of the board's year or at any time by a vote of the board. And I think we should remove and make a motion to strike at the end of the board's year or to read is resolved anytime by a vote of the board. Because by definition, a standing committee is a committee that's standing, and this is, give me a second for that. And by definition, a standing committee is a committee that's durational and goes on from time to time, and this would conflict with the prior bylaw we just put that say there are 3 standing committees of the board, which are. And then chapter 12. So that would be conflicting language between the two. And we would have to reestablish the committee every year, after year after year. So it's just changing that language, striking the language I suggested, to repair that defect.
Sorry, through the chair. That's a really good point, Joe. I think your current bylaws do allow the chair to create the committees every year. It has the committees created every year because we're allowed to, or the board votes on the committees every year. What is that? It's the board votes on the committees every year. So there is so a standing committee, this is giving the timeline of your standing committees, and you did vote to agree to make 3 standing committees. So even your current bylaws kind of interact with
The
that.
chair, as he said, so there's a difference between what happened and what is written. So what is written, according to the standing order of what are the guidelines or powers of the chair, is only to appoint members to the committees. And under the bylaws, committees are added or subtracted only to a vote of the entire committee. What's happening before with old chairs, and they decided to do whatever, and then because it did come to a vote, and the vote, we respected each other's vote, it just happened, but it was done against policies and our bylaws. Our policies. So it was done against it, even though we were all handed our very first board meeting, the rules of what it is a chair can have authority and what is authority of the full board to do. And that was one of the things that we fought from the beginning, and unfortunately it happened again, unfortunately, but again, we do everything through a vote.
So 9130 just says you have these 3 standing committees. 9133 says how you get those committees. And number 1 is that it has to be established through an action in the Board of Education. So, to the point of the clarification, there looks to be a typo under ad hoc committees that instead of saying the same rules shall apply to special committees, that should just say the same rules shall apply to ad hoc committees as in. So I think there's that word special in there that you identified that really needs to just say ad hoc because that's under the heading of ad hoc. So it's, that, and I think that clears up that point. Essentially 9133 just further defines, to Mr. Medina's point, how committees are formed. And they need to be formed through a board action and not, to your point, not by the chair. So our position, the district's position is that they're not in conflict. It's just a further clarification of how you got the 3 committees in 9130. That this is the process you followed to get those committees. And then if you need to update 9130 at some time, you can revisit that policy for whatever standing committees you appoint. In a given year.
I'll make a motion to.
Yeah, give me one second. My first motion was not second, so it's not standing right now. Can we go through the rest of it? If there's any other changes, we can integrate it all into one motion.
Do you want me to take out, is it the recommendation to take out to be dissolved at the end of the year?
So
Oh,
far,
5.
where it hasn't, and it hasn't been seconded, and we're looking at,
No, not the whole word, if I may to the chair. It's not B, it's at the end of the board's year.
I got it, Willie.
Okay, well, you just asked a question, I'm just clarifying. Oh, my goodness, I'm sorry. Nope. Back. Should go back to the word or. So it should
So it'd
be,
be dissolved at dissolved at,
any time by vote of the board.
yeah, so or would be coming out. Dissolved, okay.
yeah, okay. Good stuff.
Mr. Traver?
Yeah, why isn't this in the packet? I'm having trouble following where you guys are now.
It's in the packet.
I'm looking, I don't see it.
Number 4, discussion.
I see the agenda, Mr. Woodson. I don't see it in the packet.
Oh,
It's on the portal. It's in the same category as 9132, 9133.
Speak that, speak.
Okay, I've gone back through it 3 times. Maybe I'll go back, look again.
Let's see his laptop.
What's that?
I'm on my laptop.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
I'm here, please. No, no.
Who's got the? You got the portal, Willie? It's, I mean, because I emailed Chris them from.
Yeah, Jen is on and she said that she see.
It's right under in the portal, it's right under the notice. So 9130 through 9133, it's lumped into one document.
Trevor, did you hear that, sir?
I did, sir.
You brought a copy too.
And under that is a document that says 9130.
Yep. Keep on scrolling.
Which is, excuse me, I'm not done. Half a page. And then the next document is 9271. And then the next document is the immigration safety guidelines.
It's the 9130 document. It's in that document, 9130 through 9133. It's the 3rd page of that document.
So you just slide up. I got it. I understand now. Thank you. Thank you very much. I didn't understand this sliding left to right and up and down.
I want to
The arrow's only pointed left to right. I was only going left to right.
want to acknowledge Ms. Perez has came to the meeting. And any more questions or comments? On I have many, so you want to make it?
Yeah, I just want to know before I make this motion, does anybody have any other edits they would like to integrate into the motion? I make a motion to amend 9132/9133 as presented by striking the words at the end of the board's year or from from number 5. And also removing from under the heading ad hoc committees and replace it, striking the word special on line 1 and adding the words ad hoc.
Those sentences are, is it redundant? Ad hoc committees may be created for special assignments. The same rules shall apply to ad hoc committees again,
Well,
like,
you're defining that ad hoc committees
I don't
follow
know,
the
I
same
got it,
rules as other committees. So you need to
As
say
saving
that.
committees.
Right, they're not gonna
Okay.
follow different rules.
Yes, so I'll leave the motion as stands.
Sound redundant, but it's best off.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, Mr. Sakalovich, made a motion and Mr. Daniel seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Let's have it. And, okay, now we're gonna go back to the main motion as amended. Any questions or comments on it? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Collins, aye. Mr. Daniel seconded. And so now we'll be moving on to,
Motion carries, right?
oh, motion carries.
Yeah, it's not really good here.
Motion carries, and we'll be moving on to, Code of Ethics 9271. Any questions or comments on, Code of Ethics 9271?
That count is not helping to.
$92.
Can I just add something, Mr. Woodson?
Sure.
Just the rationale for throwing this on the agenda was it's one of the K recommended bylaws, but it's also something that throughout last year with the trainings was recommended that we kind of establish how we conduct ourselves. And so this is kind of what would fit that bill for what the state is wanting us to do. And so, I'm here for all the discussions to listen and see what everybody else thinks of it. But this is kind of just this is kind of straight from the K recommended policy.
Motion to approve Code of Ethics 9271, waiving the first read, and the second, excuse me. Motion to refer to the full board for approval, policy number 9271 as presented, waiving the first and second read for immediate implementation.
Second. Questions? Oh, Mrs. Esther Jimenez, you have a comment?
Yeah, so on the second bullet, it says after advocates of high qualify, I think that means high quality. So that should be changed from qualify to quality. And that's all the comments I have for this policy.
Motion to make that correction.
Good catch.
Thank you.
You have a second for a correction? Second. Mr. Daniel, second. Motion carries. Any other, okay, we're gonna vote on the motion that Mr. Congress made.
Aye.
Okay. 2 ayes, motion carries. For 9271. Any further comment? Okay, gonna move on to,
Wait,
for
sorry, was that the amended motion that you voted on, or was that the full
Yes,
motion?
Yeah,
I think you said to vote on the full motion.
Let me catch, may I catch you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Perez, we started off with a motion to accomplish all of them, so we're going through the amendments
Oh,
now.
okay, sorry.
know,
You said that.
No worries.
Okay. Okay, Code of Conduct 9272. Any questions or comments on that policy?
I do. uh, Issue with number 2. Request data as a board, not as an individual. So that's a little bit problematic because we meet as a board every 2 weeks or twice a month. Now, if we need data for a board meeting, for example, if there's only 1 or 2 people who want to read a contract before they vote on it, that person asking to read that contract will have no power and the superintendent, whoever may be in place 20 years from now, not anybody who exists today, so I gets offended. There's no power to compel that until the board meeting, because every single request for data will require a vote under this policy. So I think, maybe something that board members should be mindful when requesting data or something like that would be more appropriate as a code of conduct rather than restricting the board from getting information, because board members still have the same right as individuals in society to even make a FOIA request when they don't get anything. So that's restricting us even further. Maybe something like board members. I mean, I understand the intent is to prevent frivolous requests. That seems to be the intent of this line right here. But something perhaps is the code of conduct along the lines of ethics. Board members shall request data and only request data in order to help carry out their duties or some such language.
I think that, sure. I agree. When I read that, I take it to mean that if you request data, it's for the purpose of the board. So that it's for the benefit of the whole board and not an individual board member. So that if you request data, it's for the purposes of board discussion and not, and that's how I interpreted it. So is there something that you would propose to,
Can I make something in this comment?
Yeah.
I'm questioning, and then in your proposal, the way you just explained that to me, then it should say something that all requests will be given to the full board. Maybe that's what you're trying, even though I asked for information that I wanted to get some data, that the request will be going out. It won't be answered as a individual, but will be answered through the whole board, meaning that everybody's gonna get that information, which I always made that point known to the whole board and to the superintendent and the leadership. Whenever I ask for it, I want everybody to have that same information, whether they want to read it or not, it's up to them. They have a choice, but that information is given to everybody as a board. I've always made that clear in my position, so, but I think what you're saying is, if that's the case, then we should just have something written down and, on that. And my other question that I have, who created this 9272?
This is the CABE model policy.
This one also 9272?
All of these are CABE model
Okay.
policies.
Just wanted to ask.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure what's it said, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I believe, I believe the chair had, a lengthy meeting with CABE and went over their model policies. I don't want to speak on her behalf, but.
What you gotta say, Jen?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we spent like 5 or 6 hours on this. But the request for, I actually, what Dr. Ciano was saying, I think that's the intention of this one. If it's related to board business, I know that in the past, superintendents, not just Dr. Uri, but past superintendents have gotten requests from individual board members on items that the board isn't even looking at yet. So just kind of, for their own, what they're like, not their own agenda, but kind of what they're looking to look into. And so it's not something that the full board has necessarily asked to the superintendent's team to look at. And so what Dr. Ciano was saying is kind of what the intent of this policy, maybe we just have to reword it to specify that. We've had, like I said, board members just ask, random questions that they're interested in, and it takes up a lot of time from the staff who are, maybe in budget season or looking at other policies. And so those are individual requests, not board requests. And so that's kind of where this is coming from, because as a board, we don't have individual authority, we have authority as a board. And so that's kind of the rationale for that one. But maybe like we can reword it, excuse me, I'm still struggling here with this code. Reword it to clarify it a little more. And that's all.
Mr. Trader.
Yeah, I recognize, I think that there is a concern that we not be frivolous and wasteful of staff time. On the other hand, I also recognize, and that people can be that, I should say, and we've certainly seen it in the last few years that that's happened. On the conversely, board members can explore some constructive ideas. So somehow we have to balance those two dynamics in this item too, so that board members have the ability as a with a presumption of constructive behavior to explore ideas, but without being wasteful of the valuable time of the administration. And somehow we do have to balance that. And I accept that the parties have already spoken to the fact that this language doesn't quite reflect that. So I don't want to take away the individual's right to, explore what might ultimately be a good idea, without being destructive in terms of like wasting a lot of time. So somehow we gotta figure out how we do that.
Yeah, I think there's a way to do this because all these points are very valid. We don't want to strain the time, but then there's the simple everyday routine questions we came across. I sent one today in regards to the Magnet lottery. Was they be able to answer in 5 seconds and didn't disrupt nobody's day, nobody's time, and all the board got the information. I'd like to suggest we have some language like could be cleaned up a little. Board members request data related to agenda items only, and when requesting other data, routed through the chair. And if it's of something that takes a lot of research, then it would have to be
I slipped through the chair. And I think I got what you meant. So how about request data for the purposes of board business, not for individual business?
correct. However,
Then that still allows an individual board member to request something as long as it's for the purpose of the board business. So if you needed something for a committee, or that you still have that, but it's not for individual business.
Right.
It's only for board business, for the purpose of board business.
right, and but I think that's still not leaving a little bit of a loophole for abuse. Because anything that falls under anything that falls, I mean, board business, I could ask you.
So request data for the purpose of board business through the board chair.
Correct. That's probably correct, and the board chair shall not unreasonably withhold. Something in there, I don't know if that makes sense. Ms. Perez got a hand.
No, I hear what you're saying, Mr. Sakala, because you're saying through the board chair, because I remember you've done this a few times where you request something for an agenda item with other board members attached to it. So maybe I'm not sure that policy that we use for that, but is that kind of where you're going at this one? With this?
Not really. I mean,
Okay,
All-
that's,
all-
I just wanted to clarify.
Right, yeah, no, all the information, I mean, so it's more like in accordance with the legal policy, like seeking legal advice, since it costs money, and this is a
Okay.
similar issue where it might cost staff time. I mean, I wouldn't expect to, like today, I could have copied on a request for the lottery information, but I didn't, but it was sent out because there was nothing to it. It's an easy piece of information. But say I asked Dr. Avery instead for a breakdown of employee salaries in 2009. There should be some mechanism where it has to go through yourself, because that's going to involve an astronomical amount of time. So that would be maybe any request of a time-consuming nature shall be referred to or chair or something like that.
I was thinking, just any request from the board, because as Joe pointed out, and I believe the chair pointed out, that board members have no individual authority of just all requests from any board member should be copied to the entire board as first, instead of just putting the burden on the chair to filter through all the requests. And kind of work something from that. So you guys, the board as a whole, and work something from that.
Yeah, and
Through
that
the
would-
chair. Oh, sorry. I was just saying
Okay.
also through a regularly scheduled meeting or through a regularly scheduled, or not a regularly scheduled meeting, or through a meeting. Because you could also request this at a meet, like, I know what you're saying about only having 2 meetings a month, but if during like referrals, you're looking for, that item that you were just saying about salaries, like maybe you could do that at a meeting.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to add that part in, so it's not just through like an email chain or something.
But
Well, that would probably come into play if there's, if the current chair, this is not directed for you, so if the chair like refuses the request, like if I had put the request through for
Yeah.
the salaries for that year and you say no, I could bring it up at the board as I could now to try to get it, and then it will have to force the board and then it will compel the fee to come through or whatever.
even at a meeting, if you're in a meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Mr. Sokolovic requests a spreadsheet of everybody's
Shoe size.
whatever, exactly, shoe size, and it's gonna take a long time, we, for whatever reason, have that, and it's gonna take a long time, and it's completely irrelevant. That would still, just because you did it at a board meeting, you're doing it as an individual, the full board hasn't taken action, so there's no difference in you doing it again as an individual. So shouldn't all requests come from an entire board?
And that would go back the only time the whole board could act is at a board
We
meeting.
got trigger or just.
And then,
Mr. Traver, what, you got a question?
Yeah, I do. I got an opinion too. What y'all are talking about is nonsense. Listen, we're dealing with an issue in my committee. It's not going to the whole board. If there's an issue we're dealing with in ISS, it's being dealt with in ISS. So why would that go to the whole board? I believe what you want is a mechanism where if an individual is making a frivolous request for information, the administration through the superintendent will bring that to the attention of the chair. And there should be some sort of, dispute resolution through the chair. So if somebody's being abusive of requests for information, then it should go to the chair and perhaps to the full board for resolution. But I don't think we're going to have to create an extraordinarily Byzantine mechanism for requesting information. Simply, we're creating something that's just way too elaborate to deal with what may or may not be a problem that we need to deal with. Just create a something that says, if the administration deems somebody's request for information to be too much, then the superintendent will bring it to the attention of the chair and the board will decide if this is going too far. Something like that. Keep it simple. with a statement along the lines of what item 2 says, that individual members of the board shall not um, be overzealous or overdo requests for information. And if it is deemed, if the superintendent feels that it's gone too far, it'll be brought to the attention of the chair, and the chair will attempt to resolve the dispute, something like that, and figure it out how to deal with it that way. Because y'all are getting too complicated.
Mr. College,
Mr. Senior, I see you took down some notes and your last motion was quite succinct and we only needed a few more words on it. Do you have those?
If we did both in number 2, it would be something like, so request data for the purposes of board business only. And then I don't know if you want to put the superintendent in this policy, if you want to just say administration, like Mr. Traber suggested. Because this is more of a board facing policy. It's not, the other policy included the relationship between the board and the superintendent. So I don't know if how you would do that, but you would say like request data for the purposes of board business only. Any data requests can be reviewed by the superintendent and the board chair. I'm trying to capture what Mr. Traber.
Any abuse of this privilege will be brought to the attention of the chair.
Yeah, Danielle, only period.
And dealt with by the full board.
Use of this privilege.
Request, any abuse of a data request.
An informational request,
Yeah.
information request,
Yeah.
data request, information request.
And any abuse of the right to information, however you want to describe it.
Brought to the chair.
Brought to the chair, and see how that just ended there, and then take out the not as an individual.
Thing like this, or we?
What do you all?
Because I don't want to give the chair any unilateral right. I just think that we have to sort of.
Can you read that as is, Danielle?
Request, let's use the whole thing. Board member should request data for the purposes of board business only. Any abuse of an informational request will be brought to the chair.
To make motion to amend item 2 as read by Ms. Cochon.
second to,
That's me, I second it.
We're used to.
That's me.
got a second on that, any other further comment? To 9272.
Oh,
9272.
You said 292? Oh, he said 2.
92.
73, 92, 73.
9273. Any comment? Oh,
Sorry.
we're gonna vote on 9272 on the amendments that we've added. Do I have a vote for the amendments of item number 2?
Ms. Foggy?
Yeah.
Aye.
2 ayes. Or that item moves, 9273, civility code. Any, questions or comments?
Bullet 3.
Hey, Joe, 1, 2, 3, focus.
Yeah, okay. Bullet 3, focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibilities of goal setting, policy making, and evaluation. Need to add the words. If this gets lost, then I think she knows where I'm gonna go. Approval.
Oh, no.
Budget.
Oh, I thought you were gonna, evaluation of who?
Oh, the approval of the budget, because it got all,
Budget,
all.
budget, budget.
With the exception of approval of the budget.
Are you proposing to take out evaluation?
No,
No, insert, insert.
Focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibilities of goal setting, policy making,
And approval of the budget.
that,
It's got basically every other statutory obligation.
Take out and then after evaluation.
and I felt like budget was in another line somewhere. And approval of the approval of the budget, that's sense.
Approval of the approval, disapproval of the budget, that's pretty clear. There's gonna be any budget operations, operation.
Well, it's the recommended, well, yeah, recommended budget.
Implement of the budget.
We just don't implement the budget.
You
No,
do,
no, we don't implement.
yeah, you approve. Yeah.
We
you vote-
develop and approve.
Yeah.
I was gonna say what, going with what Danielle said, evaluation of the superintendent.
I don't want you guys evaluating me.
Yeah, but we do it anyway.
To the chair, yes, to the chair and for Madam Chair. Madam Chair, you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wanting to make sure that you were on. If we're gonna add superintendent, should we add the board also? Because that's one of the things that we're gonna be, doing also. Because it's two evaluations, that's why I left evaluation alone, because evaluations are part of our, duties. And I
Yeah,
know,
I was going more with, what Mrs. Call was saying are our, statutory requirements, and so like evaluation of the
Okay,
superintendent,
perfect.
because, like Danielle said, we want to make it clear that's the superintendent, not, his staff.
Us. got you.
And
Okay.
a part of goal setting is we set goals to like do evaluations. I think that falls under everything.
No problem, thank you. Any more? Mr. Collins?
Yeah, I'm intending to make a motion to add that language. Before I do, does anybody have any other changes that they would like to implement so I can do the one?
Anybody?
Just do one at a time, please.
Oh, well, we're done, this is the only last one.
You're,
So one, that's what I'm saying.
Right, because this is all.
Phase 40 is also the same thing.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Yes. And
and 41.
so there's all one policy.
Yeah, 9273 is all one.
Capitalized superintendent.
Did I, where I put it?
There's other superintendents that are lowercase.
Oh, are there?
Just,
In here?
it's capital.
all over the place.
Just if you do the.
I will do a search and change it all, because I feel it should be capital. Anyone disagree?
No,
And board
Not
to.
amen.
Yes.
Who's a grammar specialist?
Yeah,
They're not here.
you could just do find replace for.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there anything else?
Not. There it is written.
I'm not gonna do it all on,
No, usually.
I'll
the
do
motion
it, do the thing, but-
For typos and things, it's just we would really sort of just.
But any more questions or comments?
I'm not gonna do that on screen.
Oh, I see some of the lowercase.
Yeah, I'll fix that all, like everybody's, the caps will be fixed.
Drive.
Oh,
Motion.
okay,
Motion to amend bullet 3 by striking the word "and" before evaluation and adding the words of the superintendent and approval of the budget.
Let's just do a column.
And add a comma.
okay, do we have take a vote on the amendments proposed by Mr. Sakalovich?
Get a second?
Aye.
Do we get a
Second.
got a second from Mr. Daniels? Motion carries, we didn't vote. We're gonna take a vote on Civility Code 9273. Mr. Sakalovich voted aye. Mr. Daniels voted aye, motion carries. Okay, back to the main motion as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Move on to the next. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
All in. Mr. Daniels and Mr. Carter are in favor. Move on to the next item. The agenda. Number 5, discussion of possible development of a board report card to assist in evaluation of board members. Questions, comments?
Wait, hold on. I think this is just discussion.
Okay, I thought I might have missed it.
Go into space.
Correct.
this one's not in there, right?
No, this is just discussion.
I looked up and down, I looked over, under, sideways, down.
Who brought this? Was that Miss Laura? Laura.
Yeah. You got any comments, Mrs. Ramirez?
Yeah, so I referred this to the board because it was one of the things that I believe were suggested during one of the many meetings we had with CABE, in that we should be self-evaluating our own performance. So that's why I brought this up for a discussion, and I do want to mention, and like, whatever we decide, if we, it needs to be pretty black and white, because I feel like we can go in a very subjective way with the potential report card of evaluating board members. So during the referral email, I did suggest things that are pretty black and white that we can be graded on. For example, our attendance. Do we arrive on time or late? Are we following the code of ethics rules that we're instituting? So yes or no, and type of criteria. The last thing, this was suggested by one of the parents, is trying to reduce the phone usage during the meetings. That's something that, do we see that? Yes or no? I do know that sometimes I do use my phone to look up the board portal. So that's all items that I kind of was trying to brainstorm on my own, trying to meet this potential idea that came from Cabe. So all open up to discussion. But yeah, that was my thought process.
Ms. Perez?
I can talk with Jody on this to see if there's like something already in place with Kate, like a model for us. I know we've done the self-evaluation. Last year we did that, and that's something I was hoping maybe this will tie into a bit. Because we only did it, I believe we did it one time last year during the first training we had, second training. But and I know we discussed a few times, maybe implementing that a couple times a year. So I don't know if that's something that would kind of tie into this. And that would kind of just keep us on track on like the self-evaluation piece keeps us on track to make sure we're doing goal setting. We're on track to complete the evaluation of the superintendent, or, kind of like a self-evaluation of what our roles are. So I don't know if that's something you're like imagining with this, like, because I do like the idea of like kind of like we're holding ourselves accountable in a sense to
Yep.
the people, right, and to the role we took. And so I can, if you want me to, I can inquire with Jody from Cabe to see if there's like a model to this.
Yeah, I think that would be great, because the more I thought about it, I was like, "Oh, this can be a slippery slope if we don't do this right." So yeah, I think that's probably for the best.
So that would be grading each other or grading
Yeah.
grading our own
We
person.
would have a lot of fun grading each other, wouldn't we?
We can draw names out, we can draw names out of a hat.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're imagining like we grade ourselves.
Yes. So
Okay.
like last year when we were doing the CABE training, last year we kind of rated each other though, didn't we?
It was a full board thing, yeah.
Yeah. I
think so.
guess if we rate ourselves, how do we hold each other accountable?
Maybe that could, oh, I'm sorry. Can I speak real quick?
Yes.
On my hand raised. Maybe that could be done through like, I know some boards, I learned this through the convention in one of the workshops, like they do retreats. And I know we've done retreats, but mostly they're like trainings on like how to behave. But maybe retreats where we're doing like team building, and also, hey, like, listen, I noticed that this is happening with our, like, and you do that evaluation, that the report card, like during the retreat, and like kind of talk it out on how we can, as a team, as a board, be like more of a team. I don't know if that's an idea we can do. And in that convention workshop, I know the presenter mentioned they do 2 retreats a year. And it's not because we have to do the retreats, more so of a team building exercise.
Sounds something positive. Mr. Sakalovich?
I got a couple of reservations. One being FOIA, if we are in fact evaluating each other, it could be misused. And 2, me as an individual, if anybody's evaluating me and we're discussing anything about my performance, I will insist that that's done in public so everybody can see what everybody thinks of me and I have a chance to discuss it and defend myself. And that's just how I'm. Now, it could also be abused because we are all political creatures. If there is a board member, I mean, everything we write down and put down on paper is subject to FOIA. We already do a board self-evaluation, which is also subject to FOIA if we put it in writing and whatever have you, just like the superintendent's evaluation. And it's just something that could be, somebody mentioned the word slippery slope, but I don't think they mentioned it in that context. But that's the first thing I thought is FOIA requirements and how it could possibly be abused for basically political purposes, because the public is going to see everything we do wrong. The public's going to see if we don't come to meetings. The public's going to see if we disrespect each other and talk over each other. They're going to see that. They're going to grade us in the voting booth. And so it's the public that holds us accountable. We are 9 board members. Not a single board member or even a group of board members can hold any one of us accountable. That's up to the voters in November each year that we're up for election. That's when we're held accountable. But for, I don't know, really, that's just my thoughts behind it. If the board has different ideas, go with it. The board approved thing, but I just want everybody to be mindful that this is slippery slope. Create extra work for us. In my time on the board, we rarely got around to a board self-evaluation. I think this last year was probably the first one in my 9-year tenure. First time the board has had the capacity to do a self-evaluation, just to add another layer to it that we might not be able to achieve at this time. Everything else is going on. I think I like the idea and spirit of holding us as accountable, but I think the mechanism already exists within board evaluation process that already takes place.
Mr. Traver?
Yeah, I get, I don't know whether I'm disagreeing or agreeing, or I have a question about, when you're doing that retreat, I don't think there's anything, executive about it. I think it's FOIable. And so you're gonna do a retreat, it's simply setting aside the time to spend a few hours discussing how we're doing. I don't think it's evaluating anybody individually. So if we do it that way, it's simply having that general discussion about how we're doing as a board. I don't disagree with what Joe just said about people will see who's attending, who's not attending, who's being polite and who's not being polite. Who's participating, who's not participating. So I think that's all going to be there. It's just a question of, as we did last year, trying to set up some sort of collective review of how we're doing. If we do that at a meeting that's set aside to do that versus a general board meeting for general business, that would be the only distinction that I would see us making. I don't know whether that would be the same meeting where we evaluate the superintendent but that's personnel. That's a slightly different matter. So I'm comfortable doing it either way. That's it.
Maybe Ms. Perez could do some more check-in with Jody or Kate, see how we could see.
Yeah, I can bring something back to you guys, just, to see, this is a good idea. And I think, if we could find, it's not, we don't want to make it extra work for ourselves. So, but we do want to make sure we're doing the work, right? So that's a good way to, if we evaluate ourselves, that'll be a good way to do it. But I could try to see what Jody has for Cabe.
Any other questions or comments regarding report cards for board?
Sure. Yeah, can you read first and read?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The only question that I had, and I think Miss Madam Chair would be able to get that through the communication, is just, when this is gonna be done, what's a good time frame to do this evaluation? Meaning with, because again, we're evaluating each other. So when is a good time frame? What month should we be doing this kind of work? And then where? and I think you were answering possibly a retreat, or is it gonna be in a committee, a special IHOP committee just for that one day, or whether it's gonna be in a full board? That's the only two questions I had, where and when. But
Oh,
you're
you'll
gonna try
have,
to get
like,
that.
if we did anything, it'd be ample notice. But this is just a discussion right now at this point. So they'll definitely be, I'm not gonna try to do it like next Wednesday or something.
No, it wasn't about notice.
No, we'll give you some.
It was more about like, what is a good time to kind of like evaluate
Yeah.
ourselves and to work on it, because I think the point of evaluating any situation, I think it was brought up to us about the superintendent also, was to make sure that, you know, he or she and the board can know, okay, what can we improve moving forward? It's about checking ourselves and things. So
Yeah.
we don't have no time. If we do it in, you know, November, you know, some of us might not be here, you know, because our term might be up or whatever. So just try to
And I
figure out
think
a time frame.
And I think a good time would probably be in the summer, like in the early, either at the end of the school year, beginning of the new year, because then we can evaluate that past school year or set goals for the next year. That's my
That's
first,
what my thought was. That's what my
I
thought.
don't think we should be doing it now during budget
Yeah,
season.
no, that was my
Um,
thought. More like, can we line it
Yeah.
up? Thank you.
Do it during a calmer time for us.
It's part of the sleep.
And my silence is actually, that's why I'm coming out of it. I
Sorry.
can't hear.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we move to the next item on the agenda, adjourning. Do I have a motion?
I think I'll second.
You ready for that?
Second.
Made a motion. Mr. Dan, second. Have a good evening, everybody.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm getting there.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.